Congratulations on being selected as a Young Ambassador this year.
The Young Ambassador programme is a great way for you to promote sport and inspire other young people to get involved in your school and community.
You'll develop new skills including communication, teamwork and leadership, all really important to you as a young leader.
In this role, you have the opportunity to make a difference. Think creatively and share your views on how to get others involved in sport. The opportunity is what you make of it.
You may not know it now, but you'll become a role model for other young people. You get to be the face of sport in your school.
It's great to be able to help make sport inclusive and provide more people with the chance to enjoy being active.
We have every faith that you will make a difference. Believe in your ideas, seize every opportunity and inspire others.
Go on, make that difference.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the launch of the Young Ambassadors programme for this year. My name is Rona McLeod and I'm delighted to be with you hosting today's session. Before we get started, I want to know where you're all from. There are hundreds of you taking part all around the country. In the comments, let me know which city, town or area you are from. I am so looking forward to helping you prepare for your Young Ambassador journey, and this is just the beginning. Today you'll learn more about your role as a Young Ambassador. You'll hear some ideas that you can use in your school and get ready to hear some really inspirational stories from some very special guests. I'm sure that these will motivate you to make a difference in your school. Today would not be possible without the support and funding from the National Lottery and the support of Youth Sport Trust, so I'd like to extend our thanks to both organisations. I am personally so passionate about why we're here today and the opportunity that sport offers to young people. Now, my main claim to fame is being a sports journalist and a presenter for BBC Scotland for over 25 years, until just 2 years ago when I started my own media business. I've been to 4 Olympic Games, 5 Commonwealth Games, the World Cup in football, plus loads of World Championship events, Wimbledon, Six Nations Rugby and Open Championship Golf. I've interviewed some of the most famous athletes from Scotland and the rest of the world. These include Sir Chris Hoy, Andy Murray, Tiger Woods, Jessica Ennis-Hill, Tom Daley, and all of the Scotland football and rugby players. I just got back from Tokyo last month, where my job was to interview every single Olympic medalist in athletics. It was amazing. Now, like many of you, sport has played a huge part in my school life. I played hockey and netball for the school, but athletics, specifically long jump and hurdles, were my main events. I competed for my school, my club, and then I was fortunate to represent Scotland at junior and then senior international levels. Sport opened the door to a million positives in my life. My friends were not just my school friends, they were teammates. I had friends from all over Scotland and the rest of the UK, people that I trained with and people I competed against. Many of them became friends for life. Sport was also a great way for me to get involved in leadership. Now, I know that it does sound a bit schooly to be told to develop your leadership skills, but sport does give you a chance to develop your communication, your organisation and teamwork skills while building your own self-confidence and self-esteem. So who knows, through developing your skills, you could make a real difference to another person by getting them into sport. I'm also a sports mum. My daughters have both recently finished school. My younger has just left home to start university this year, while my elder daughter is in her second year at uni. They're both junior international athletes in sprints and hurdles, just like mum. So you can see we're really quite a sporty family. My elder daughter, Bria, was also a young ambassador when she was in S4, and she absolutely loved the experience. She gained a number of skills from being a YA, which helped her with her university application and gave her loads of confidence and organisational skills. She's actually now, I have to say, quite a well-rounded individual. At her school, Balfron High School in Stirlingshire, The Young Ambassadors also hosted their big sports award ceremony for students, parents and guests at the end of the school year. There were around 200 people in the audience, and I know that she found that very overwhelming at first, but what a feeling of achievement when the YAs pulled off an amazing evening to celebrate sport. My final sporting passion is as a coach for my local athletics club, Central AC. When I'm there, I can see the power of sport really change people's lives. Personally, I can be in an absolutely horrible mood and the rain is chucking it down, but after a night of coaching with our youngsters, I always have a smile on my face. I find being a coach incredibly rewarding. So sport means many things to many people, but to all of us, it means fun, health, achievement. It can also mean leadership, celebration, and inclusion. So have a think about your world and where you can work towards making people's lives better through sport. Please do not underestimate your own abilities. You absolutely can make a difference to others as a young ambassador. So before we hear a bit about the programme, every sporting event requires a warm-up. Plus, as a journalist, I'm a bit nosy. I want to know a bit more about all of you. So hopefully some of you have already done this. In the comments, I want you to tell me where you're from. Start your comment with your first name, followed by which city, which town or area that you are from. So I will start. I am Rona, and I'm from a village called Balfron in Stirlingshire. So let's see, have we got anything from any of you? Anybody? Are you all quite shy at the moment? Aha, here we go. We have, I'll try and pick out a selection of them here to let you see. Oh, we've got loads and loads of you. That's fantastic. So we've got Fraser McCurdy from Livingston, Erin Fee from Glasgow, Ewan Mannion, Dundee, Lauren Mather from North East Fife. Here's another one up north, Christina Sheffield from Banff, Ailey McDonald, Glasgow. Sorry, Ailey Donald, not MacDonald. Ailey Donald from Glasgow. Hendrix Knight from Aberfeldy. We've got Active West Lothian are here as well. Oh, there's hundreds of you here. Graham Young and Catherine from Bathgate. Emma J. Bruce from Afford in Aberdeenshire. So that's fantastic. We've got loads and loads of you. So thank you so much for saying hello, and hopefully we'll be hearing from more of you later on. So as you can see, you are part of a national programme. It's wonderful to see we have young ambassadors from right across Scotland. So to give you some context, there have been over 5,000 young ambassadors across Scotland from Dumfries and Galloway all the way up to the Shetland Islands since the programme began back in 2012. Next year, the programme will be celebrating its 10th birthday. Today is the start of a similar journey for all of you to meet like-minded young sports enthusiasts in your school and community and encourage others to join in and gain the benefits that sport can bring. Now, you're all connected by something special. Sport is really powerful. And we hope that as the year develops, that you can connect with other young ambassadors from across the country. We're all in this together. We are teammates. So what is the Young Ambassador Programme? Well, as a young ambassador, you are the voice for sport in your school. You'll help to promote sport in your school, and you'll inspire other young people to get involved in sport in your school and in your community. Your role will focus on 6 key areas of sport in your school. These are extracurricular sporting provision, links to sport in your community, such as local clubs, opportunities for competition in the school and locally, celebration of pupils' sporting achievements, no matter how big or how small, leadership opportunities for young people, getting other people involved, and PE in schools. You'll be a role model and a leader for your peers. Now, you may not think that you're a leader at the moment, but please trust me, you are. Think of a time when you said or did something, no matter how small, to make someone's life better. That is part of being a leader. Your views and those of your peers are important in making your school experience as positive as possible. Again, you may not think it now, but you will develop key skills through your journey as a young ambassador. Among these are listening to what other young people want or need, influencing, inspiring others to get involved, and making sure sport is inclusive for everyone to participate. Connecting, that's improving your communication skills through speaking with lots of different people. Promoting, making people aware of what you're looking to do. And implementing, being organised and putting your ideas into action. Now, please remember, you're not alone in any of this. We want to make your experience as a young ambassador as easy as possible. Hopefully, you will know your young ambassador partner who's starting the journey with you. Don't worry if you don't know each other well, but get to know them. Find out what are their interests and goals for the year ahead. The better you work as a team, the better the end results. As a young ambassador, you will be supported by your mentor who can help you put your ideas into action. They will be your go-to person on how to get started, and they'll be there to support you whenever you need them. You'll all receive a welcome pack containing a young ambassador's polo top, a pin badge to wear in your school uniform, and a how to get started guide. This how to get started guide will support you during the initial months in your role and help you to plan for the year ahead. Talk through this guide with your mentor who can help you. Now, we've also been creating lots of tools and resources to make your role as easy as possible. All of these resources will be shared on our Young Ambassador dedicated Instagram page and will play a big part in the year ahead. So if you can do so, get out your phone just now and make sure you're following the page at YA Scotland. Throughout the year, this will be updated with tools, resources and challenges you can use, as well as handy hints and tips from former YAs who've been in your shoes. We'd also encourage you to tag us in any pictures or videos on Instagram so we can keep up to date with what you've been getting up to. Share content with us using the hashtag YAScotland. So, as you'll begin to discover today, all of you have amazing potential to grow, to become more confident, and to make a real difference. Great things can happen led by you in your school and community. And today we want to show you how to start on this journey. To give you more information on what to expect as a YA and to share their experiences, I caught up with Cassie and Katie. They are young ambassadors together at Keith Grammar School and are now part of the YA delivery team. That's a group of former young ambassadors who are there to support you in your roles. Here's what they had to say. Well, it's absolutely fantastic to have both of you along to see you today. So first of all, I want to hear a little bit about yourselves. Cassie, you tell me first.
So I'm 16 years old and I go to Keith Grammar School and I'm in S5. So before I was a young ambassador, I didn't really think I was very sporty. Although I did enjoy swimming and I'd done a little bit of hockey. But through the Young Ambassador programme, I definitely got far more involved in sport and gained a lot of confidence from it as well.
Do you think that the confidence is important then for what you have to do?
It is important, but through the time being a Young Ambassador, you'll definitely grow confidence. So if you're nervous to start with, like myself and Katie were quite anxious for a start, we definitely grew our confidence as a pair as well, which helped a lot.
So nothing to worry about in the end then from that point of view?
No.
Okay, Katie, so first of all, Katie, you tell me about yourself.
So I'm also 16. I'm also an S5 at Keith Grammar School. Before I was a young ambassador, I was quite into my Highland dancing and I was really quite active. But I was also quite shy. Like when I was, say, early primary, really, really shy, wouldn't speak to anyone. But the young ambassador programs really helped me like develop my confidence alongside Cassie. And it's just been a great experience.
So did you think that you managed to face your fears then with that?
Definitely, especially like with assemblies and presentations, speaking to different people, then yeah, definitely.
So Cassie, can you tell me what is the best thing about being a young ambassador?
Being a young ambassador as a whole has been amazing. I've really enjoyed the whole experience, but I would say definitely getting to work with like a wide variety of people and making new connections, and also just trying to organize different things, I think is really good.
And what about the people perhaps in your school? Do you think that you've got to know the other pupils, the teachers?
I've definitely gotten worked on good relationships with the teachers. They've definitely grown over the time as being a young ambassador. Just through speaking to them, trying to get information, just a range of different things. That's definitely helped.
And would you encourage all of the new young ambassadors who are watching you to talk to the school, to talk to their schools about the role?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really important part of being a young ambassador is just to speak to as many people in your school as you can about your role. And you'll find out that they're like happy to help you or help you with any problems you've got, give you advice. There's always going to be someone there to help.
And what about you, Katie? Are you finding the same things? What do you think is the best thing about being a young ambassador?
Very similar to Cassie actually, but I also enjoy taking more of a lead role. Like as I said, I was quite shy when I was younger, but being a young ambassador gave me the opportunity to take more of a leadership role in the school from like especially a young age. Normally it's the seniors that'll take a lead, but the young ambassador programs allows you to be able to take a lead at a younger age. And it also helped me like speak to the senior leadership team, which is someone you don't really think of speaking to if you don't need to. So it kind of put us into the position where like we're going to have to go speak to them to be able to do something. So yeah, it gave you a push.
Before you did this, could you imagine that you would be able to stand up and speak to people and go and speak to the senior management of your school?
Not really. Maybe like the occasional person, but other than that, not really. No, it seemed quite daunting. But after you first go and do it, you'll find out like they're lovely. They'll just speak to you nicely. Yeah, they'll make you feel really comfortable.
So that's brilliant. So brilliant for your confidence as well then. Back to you, Cassie. What would you say is your biggest achievement since you've become a young ambassador?
Well, Katie and I organised a day for Active Girls Day. So it was like a pink day, that's what we called it. That would definitely be one of my biggest achievement being a young ambassador, because we're really excited to get started and we're aiming to plan this and encourage more girls to get involved in sport. But during COVID, since the restrictions were so tight, we had a lot of different situations we had to try and overcome to actually get the day to go ahead.
Yeah, it's been really difficult, hasn't it? With COVID, it's been a couple of years like no others, so definitely additional challenges. And Katie, what would you say your biggest achievement is?
The Active Girls Day was definitely one of the biggest ones, but also like our sport committee. So that was kind of the first thing we did when we got back to school, since it was mentioned so many times at our conference in Aberdeen. So it was me and Cassie, and we gathered together like people who we thought would be interested. And we also put out some feelers on like the daily notices, like our plasma screens around the school, to anyone who would be interested. And it's really helpful. So it's not just me and Cassie doing all the work. So like we had some little like helpers as well, who did things in the background and also helped us do more like volunteering stuff.
So Katie, you two are the young ambassadors, but do you feel like it's a bigger team then when you all get to work together?
Yeah, it's definitely a bigger team, like including your coordinator from active schools. Like you're definitely a much bigger than a two-person team, and you can get lots more work done. And it's just genuinely handy for going around the school, speaking to SLT. It's a really good thing to have more than just the two of you.
It sounds like there's been a lot of work done. And Cassie, I'm interested, when you were just starting out, how did you plan? What did you do? How did you get started?
So our planning started right back at the conference. We started making mind maps and put down all the ideas we thought would be really good to do as our time as young ambassadors. And then when we got back to school, we sat down with Amanda, our active schools coordinator, and we numbered them all, which ones we thought were the most important and the ones we wanted to aim to do first. So having this like process and working through it, it made things a lot more clear of how we wanted to do it. And then this is how we came to start with the sports committee, being our very first thing that we wanted to like get started at school.
And you mentioned Amanda there, she's your mentor. How important is your mentor?
Oh, your mentor is so important. They'll give you so much help, advice, guidance, anything. You can speak to them about anything you need to help you with. They'll just always be there. But don't always feel that you've got to wait for them to ask you to speak to them. You can just feel like you can speak to them all the time. It's such an important role to have and form a good relationship with.
And Katie, what about you? When you were thinking about this, planning for this, how did you get started?
Well, since it was mentioned so much in the conference we attended, it was the sports committee, like I spoke about. So basically, like I said before, we found people who may have been interested, put out feelers, and yeah, now we've got quite a good sports committee. We only have from like S3 and onwards, but so our next kind of approach is going to be to try and target some of the S1s and 2s to come and join us, so we can get more of like an overall impact in the whole school, because now we're kind of leaning more towards senior. So we want to get some more impact from the juniors as well.
And so it seems like, because hopefully these juniors are going to be young ambassadors in the future, would you encourage them and others to go and talk to experienced young ambassadors?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you'll learn so much from like people who have been young ambassadors before, and it'll definitely help your experiences when you become a young ambassador.
So I'm going to put you two on the spot as young ambassadors. Cassie, what would your top tips be for all of this year's new young ambassadors?
I would just say get stuck into it as soon as you become a young ambassador. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Just get going, but also work as a team. Don't feel like you're ever left alone to do anything. Just make sure you work as a team, because it makes the experience 10 times better, but it also makes it so much easier and less stressful, because that's the last thing you want, is it for it to become stressful.
So do you think it's important then that you talk about your role, that you actually explain your role to other people to get buy-in from everybody else?
Yeah, I'd say that's a really good thing. We spoke at assemblies to explain who we were and what our goals were going to be as our time as young ambassadors. And I think doing that, introducing yourselves as the young ambassadors to the school, who probably already know you as a person, but don't understand your role, is really good, because then it means everyone knows what you're planning to do.
And just on that, when everybody knows what you're planning to do you have social media? Do you set anything up so that you can all keep in contact with each other?
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group with our sports committee, because we find that's the best way for us all to contact each other. Because I know a lot of people would probably use emails, but we definitely prefer the WhatsApp group.
And Katie, what would you say your top tips are?
My top tip would be just to speak to anyone who think who could possibly help you. Like your PE department, SLT, even though that can be a scary one, is definitely one of the top priorities to speak to. And also just like Cassie said, pick something and say, look, that's going to be our first task. Like for us, Active Girls Day is quite a good one because it's October and it's like maybe like a month since your conference. So it's quite good for just a starter to get a feel for your role and to see what it's like to run something.
And I'm interested there that you said about talking to your SLT and that can be quite difficult, but I can tell you, I can guarantee to you that your leadership teams are going to be delighted to have young ambassadors, and I would guarantee they will always be delighted that you come and knock on their door and think about such great ideas for the school and for all of the students around you. So that's been some fantastic advice from you, and you're both enthusiastic about young ambassadors. I can tell you're both doing a really, really great job. And so I want to wish you the best of luck for the future. And thanks very much for joining us today to pass on all this fantastic information. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much to Cassie and Katie for sharing their experience. Weren't they amazing? Hopefully hearing from them has helped you to get a better idea of what kind of things you could be doing in your school. Just want to do a few more shout outs quickly while we're here. We have just half a mile up the road from me here, we have Ruby Button, Sky Sutty and Beth Goodwin here in Balfron as our young ambassadors. There's Jodie and Maya from Banner and High. Lewis and Lee are in Glasgow. Ryan and Rachel from McLaren High School, just over there in Callendar. Lauren and Hope are in Dornoch. We have Blairgowrie High School with Roni and Zoe. Active Schools Midlothian, Izzy and Mighty from Gairloch. Ailey Mackay from Tobermory High School in the Isle of Mull. Finally, my old school, Olivia Mahon and Chloe Chesney from Lindsay Academy. So great to hear from all of you. Thanks very much for giving us a shout there. So now it's been an absolutely amazing summer of sports, from Scotland men's football team at the Euros to the Olympic and the Paralympic Games in Tokyo. And with the easing of restrictions, we've seen many club sport activities back up and running. Now, before I introduce our next guest, we want to hear from you. Please give us a shout. What has been your most memorable sporting moment during this summer of sport? Now, maybe it's been someone who inspired you or motivated you. So pop it into the comments section again. Just tell us who or what it was and why it stood out. Maybe it was a particular medal winning moment or the way an athlete or team handled themselves. Just let us know. So I'm going to get us started. I was lucky enough to be in Tokyo at the Olympic Games. For me, there was one moment that stood out. That was a very personal one. I have been reporting on the athlete Laura Muir since she was a young vet student at Glasgow University. In Tokyo, I was privileged to be there at the track to see her win the Olympic silver medal in the 1500 metres. And there were absolutely loads of tears from me, not from her, but from me, as I interviewed her in the mixed zone after the race. So what about you? Have a think. Share a moment, even a person or an event that has stood out for you. And I'll be coming to those stories that you're going to be sending me in just a moment. But now, we have a really exciting guest joining us. Prepare to be totally inspired. Fresh from an outstanding performance in Tokyo, bringing home a gold and silver medal. She's most at home on the velodrome cycling track. She's had a brilliant career so far with 2 gold and 1 silver from 2 Olympic Games, as well as gold, silver and bronze from the Commonwealth Games. Please welcome Scottish and British racing cyclist Katie Archibald.
Scotland lead the way with Katie Archibald. Archibald takes the 5 points on the line.
Well, another crowd pleaser there for the Scottish rider.
Katie Archibald on the front for Great Britain at the moment here. She's such a powerful rider, driving away around the bottom of the track.
Surely this is going to be a new world record.
The final lap of the Olympic final, and it is going to be a ride to glory here for Great Britain. Gold for Great Britain! They've smashed the world record! To the finishing straight, she's going to take the gold medal for Scotland. Katie Archibald takes it.
Can they make it a hat-trick? For Britain, it's Katie Archibald.
I've never wanted something so much, and I've never been so nervous.
Two special athletes who complemented each other beautifully and turned a race into a procession. It was a golden Madison masterclass from Katie Archibald and Laura Kenny.
Well, that was absolutely stunning and certainly gave me shivers just having a look at that. We have Katie Archibald with us, and there will be time for all of you to ask Katie a question. So have a think, and again, write in the comments what you would like to ask Katie. Katie, we've been hearing from some of the young people about what their sporting highlights are. So we'll ask you some questions. We'll come back to some of theirs if that's okay, because I'm sure that you've got some interesting points from the summer that you would like to share as well. First of all, Katie, give us a feel of sport for you as a youngster. Has cycling always been your focus? Do you think is it important to do lots of sports growing up? What was it like for you?
Katie, sorry, we can't hear you.
All right, Katie seems to be having some problems just now with her microphone. While we try and get that sorted out, I'm going to let you know what some of you guys have been saying are your sporting moments from the summer. So Aidan Patterson is saying that Callum McGregor goal versus Croatia in the European Championships. Chloe Chesney saying James Guy crying after winning a first Olympic gold medal. Quite a few of you are saying Emma Raducanu winning the US Open tennis. Erin Fee is saying that. We have Mighty Shalmay saying Scotland drawing with England in the Euros. And here's Jane also saying Emma Raducanu. Katie, give us a wee shout. Let's hear if we can hear you yet. No, we're still not hearing Katie. We'll come back to you in a wee moment or two. Ellie Kirk is saying the GB hockey women's team drawing with the Netherlands in the pool stage of the Olympics. Here's Caitlin Christie saying Josh Kerr's 1500 meters medal. That was in Tokyo at the Olympic Games, and I was fortunate enough to be at that one. Elliot Hepburn saying Scotland getting into the Euros. And here is Annie May Overton, who is saying Josh Quigley getting a new world record for road cycling in their local area this past week. So that's a personal one. Ruby McLeod is giving us a Shinty highlight. Kinloch Shield winning their first ever final in Shinty. And here we have Graham Young, who is saying the Australian swim coach celebrating his athlete. I remember this. The athlete winning a medal during the Tokyo Games showed how much it meant to seeing his athlete achieve their goal. Now, I heard a wee crackling there from Katie. Katie, can we hear you now? Right, not hearing Katie just at the moment. Go back to some of your sporting highlights. Abby Smith is saying Tom Daly winning his first gold Olympic medal. I thought that Tom Daly's knitting was also extraordinary. Katie Kilpatrick is saying Keely Hodgkinson winning her silver, I think it was, in the 800 metres final. Here's Katie Dunbar, Emma Raducanu winning the tennis. And Katie, can we hear you now? Hi, Katie.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you hear me? Can you maybe hear your own feedback there?
We can hear you.
Sorry.
No worries at all. We can hear you perfectly well now, Katie. Thank you. The question that I was asking you was about your beginnings in sport, whether it was always cycling or whether you did other sports as well, and the importance perhaps of doing more than one sport.
Okay, hello. Sorry about that. We'll just get straight into it to make up for the fumbling. Yeah, goodness, I did so many sports growing up. Cycling's always been a part of my life, but it was actually quite late that it became the biggest part of my life. We did touring holidays when I was younger, so touring holidays in quotations. We'd go on very long bike rides. But I've basically tried everything, like trampolining, gymnastics, freestyle dance. I would go to the tennis camps and the football camps. But through my teenage years, I was really hockey and swimming. Those were my two sort of formal competitive sports. And it wasn't until I was a bit older that I started racing on the bikes.
Did you find that you were good at all those? I mean, you mentioned a lot of things there, lots of different sports, and I think that people assume that if you're good at one sport, they think that you're actually going to be really talented and you could do any sport you wanted. So was that the case?
That was sadly not the case. No, I enjoyed lots and lots of sports. But I wasn't a shining star until I wasn't even a shining star as soon as I got on the bike, of course. But I think I took swimming so seriously because my brother was very good, and so it was a big feature of of our weekends as a family. If he was going to swimming training every day, I would go to swimming training every day. If you've got one person waking up at 5:30 for training, why not two? And I guess I kind of inherited his mindset and his determination with that until I was about 14. I suddenly realized, oh, why am I doing this? This isn't something I'm actually passionate about. And it took me a long time to find my feet as to what my real passion was. Because until then, I guess my passion was just moving around. I just really liked moving around, getting my heart rate up.
Why do you think sport is so important for young people to become involved?
Yeah, I think the things that sport's given to me and the things that sport's taught me have really defined who I am. I've learned so much confidence being in a sporting environment all the time, because it's the kind of place where you're meant to fail, which makes it a lot easier to make a fool of yourself. It almost sounds counterintuitive that the best way to to sort of thicken up your skin, I suppose, is by making a tit of yourself. I've always felt, whether it's with the hockey team or whether it would be like lunchtime fitness with my school or just signing up for a new sport. Like I've tried kayaking with my school, and I've tried rock climbing with friends that would just say, well, there's this place we can go to. And because typically everybody who's there is pushing themselves as hard as they can, and even the people that are really good at a sport are still trying their hardest, means there's no shame in you trying your hardest too. And I think that's been really important for my development of just putting myself out there, learning that if you stretch yourself, it can sometimes feel really good.
What do you think of the Young Ambassador programme? Because I know you were listening earlier on when we were talking all about it.
Yeah, I think it all sounds fantastic. Especially, I really liked. I actually made a note when you were talking about the listening, connecting, influencing, promotion, and implementing. Because these are that's just such a neat handbook for really how to just get everything together, and to, I think, be given a lot of drive with the challenge. I've certainly found that when when someone gives me the opportunity to challenge myself, you can be really grateful for it, and that something that seems like work is actually a treat. And especially coming around to implementing, of realizing that this is in your hands, and this is your school experience, this is your sports environment, and at the end of the day, that the culture that you and your teammates create is for you, and to take some ownership of that, and to think, I can make a difference here, I can impact the way that myself and my classmates are experiencing school, experiencing sport, I think is really, really valid.
I've got lots of questions for you, Katie, but some of the young people have also got questions, and we would encourage all of you, if you have a question for Katie, to write down your name and then write down your question, and I will read it out. And some of them are in already. Lewis Welsh is saying, how tough was training during the pandemic, especially so close to the Olympic Games?
Yeah, well, it's funny, this won't make it into a Hollywood inspiring film, but training through the pandemic wasn't that tough at all, because every other distraction was taken away. There was nothing to do but train, and I was really lucky. So I lived, or I was locked down with my partner, who also rides, not at the same level, but it meant that there was somebody there that if I was just feeling like, oh, I don't want to get on the bike today, there's usually someone that would get on with me. And that's probably the thing that I miss most, I guess, of being able to meet up for group rides with my teammates and things. But I actually found it really motivating that when I was building really consistent training blocks, because like I say, the week was totally empty. I couldn't go to school visits, I couldn't go to races, we couldn't even have as many meetings as before. There were just zero other distractions. And I was finding sort of 6 years into a professional career, I was finding these really big improvements just from routine and consistency. And as soon as you kind of fall into that rewarding pattern, it's really easy to motivate yourself to keep going. So I've tried to keep some of those lessons now that we're in the normal world, now that I do have all of these brilliant distractions and things, but just to remind myself, the sort of the physical ability that's out there, or the physical potential that's out there, if you just follow your training plan, basically.
It's interesting you say that actually some positives, we will all probably as a society learn something from COVID, that so many negative things have happened, but there are also things to learn there as well. Here is a question from Katie Dunbar. It says, Caitlin and Beth are asking this question. Do you have your medals with you today? Are they handy? Oh, we're in luck.
Yeah, so here's the upsetting thing. They're really nice to hold in your hand. Like if I was there in person, this is a kind of fun affair. So what I'll do is I'll just so this is the Madison medal, and what's quite nice, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think it's going to work on the camera. Oh no, my camera isn't good enough. But it has the event engraved along the bottom, which it's just quite a nice touch, if you ask me. This is it's Nike on the front, the Greek god of competition. Greek god of, is that right? I started the sentence and I really should have known for sure what I was saying before I said it.
Nike is the goddess of something sporting, yes.
Yeah,
maybe some of the young ambassadors could message us just to confirm this.
Yeah, and so it's the same design on the silver medal as well, with the Tokyo emblem on the back. But the reason it's so nice to be able to put it in people's hands in person is this is 500 grams. So I have a water bottle here with me. So it's probably, they weigh about the same of this medal and this water bottle, which is wild when you think of it, because it's a lot smaller. There you go.
Crazy. They are so heavy, and I think that was the response of most of the people who won them in Tokyo, was they said, I can't believe it is so heavy. They were beautiful medals, absolutely beautiful. Here is from Katie Kilpatrick. Katie and Terry are asking, what advice would you give to young people who want to become professional athletes?
So it's interesting. I get asked the question by young cyclists quite often. They'll say, if I want to be a professional cyclist, what should I do? And what's kind of funny, I guess, is that usually my response is, are you sure you want to be a professional cyclist? Because maybe you're the best badminton player in the world. So I guess to be in a forum like this, where we're all just passionate about sport, about every sport, is kind of the first thing when you're young. It's a case of, I think, or I believe, trying everything, and like we say, developing these skills that transfer into the wider world as well, about leadership and professionalism and determination, goal setting and so on. But yeah, if your dream is to make it to the Olympics, the first thing you have to do is figure out what your talent is. And I didn't find out until I was 17. And even then, I didn't really, I didn't chuck everything at it until I was 19. And I recited half the list of the sports that I tried. I could probably go on twice as long. So number one, try lots of different sports. And number two is to plug yourself into your community, by which I mean join a club, go to the local races, speak to the people that you're racing against, listen to the coaches that you have around you. It doesn't mean that everybody is it doesn't mean that everyone is a perfect mentor. It doesn't mean that there's somebody there with all the answers. But if you're opening yourself up to absorb all of this and to interpret it in your own way, to figure out what is it that I want to take seriously about what so-and-so is teaching me or what so-and-so is telling me. But just to realize that most of the inspiration and the answers are out there if you open your eyes to it, and the opportunities are out there if you sign up for them. So try every sport, join every club.
I think this is a great question. This is from Mighty Shalmi. Mighty and Izzy have asked this, because sport can be really, really tough. Have you ever felt like you wanted to give up, and how did you handle this?
It's it doesn't have to be a heavy question, but I suppose when the answer is yes, it turns into one. So I've once upon a time, I think I would have flippantly answered it and said that I want to quit all the time. In the same way that when I was 15, I wanted to quit school all the time. When I was younger, I wanted to quit swimming all the time. When I was, there's a sense that you get when things are stressful that you just want to run away and hide. And I'm as susceptible to that as anybody. And I know that all of my teammates are as well. But when we turn up to a competition, there's something in you that thinks, oh my goodness, should I just run away because I'm terrified? And so in that way, I wanted to quit, as it were, when things are tough. In a far more real sense, the closest that I've come to quitting was a few years ago, when it's maybe not worth explaining the full dynamics, but I was having a really tough time and not getting selected for races, and feeling really paranoid and frustrated with the setup I was in. And it was the more paranoid and frustrated I got, the more I isolated myself, and the more I stopped trusting people who could have helped me. And so the further I got pushed down this line of thinking, this is horrible, I'm miserable, I need to just chuck everything away, and it would have been a full baby out with the bathwater kind of scenario. And what saved it for me, or I guess what you could say is what saved my career, is just by chance the team psychologist approached me, and the British team. It wasn't someone that I really did a lot of work with, but he approached me and said, would I be interested in doing some leadership work for our squad at British Cycling? And this is going to make it sound like I've deliberately set it up to look good for the Young Ambassadors program. But it's just by total chance. But this team psychologist approached me and said, I think the team could really do with some cohesion and some leadership. Are you willing to put the work in to act as a captain for this team, as a leader for this team? And it maybe sounds a bit stupid, like why approach the person that's paranoid and miserable. but I think that was a reflection of the environment that we were in at the time. That there wasn't there wasn't a brilliant culture in our team at that time, and it's probably why I was so miserable. And it wasn't a case of saying, well, I think it wasn't him saying to me, "You're amazing, you should be leading this team." It was him saying to me, "This team needs leadership. Are you willing to do the work?" And so he acted as a mentor for me, and gave me guidance to try and fill this role. And I've really never had more satisfying work in my life than stepping into this role in our British team, the track squad. And that was the couple of years leading up to Tokyo. Well, it should have been 1 year, and then with the pandemic and the delay and things, which obviously tested things all over again. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what it's probably the biggest hurdle I've had to overcome, actually. The isolation that almost made me want to quit, and the challenge of leadership that saved me from it.
Here's a story, and I think I've possibly witnessed this, but you can tell me if this is different. This is from Roni and Zoe in Blairgowrie. They have said, "What was your worst ever bike crash, and how did you pick yourself up and get back on the bike?"
Yeah, so I know, because you and I had a conversation about it beforehand, that you were watching when I had a crash at a home race in Glasgow, actually, where both me and my teammate, it was a Madison race. That's what we saw in the little video that me and my teammate did at the Olympics. And it was a Madison race, and there was a big crash where both me and my partner came down. I actually ended up riding over her head, which wasn't brilliant, and I landed on my wrist. And anyway, we got back up and won the race, and it's a nice story because it ends that way, and it can seem, yeah, I mean, it sounds cool, but in honesty, it didn't. Nothing, like, in the moment, none of that felt that hard or that challenging. It was obviously very frustrating, and obviously I was in a lot of pain, but what's been harder is sort of getting back on the bike in a sort of grander long-term sense, when sometimes you have to stop yourself getting on the bike when you're injured, and you are going to make things worse if you keep pushing through, when recovery now will save you heartache down the line. I've had not a stupid amount. I've probably had the normal amount of injuries, in that so I broke my wrist on that occasion. I've broken my collarbone twice. I've often been more frustrated with the crashes where you come off and you have something like bone bruising, or just lots and lots of scabs. And so a doctor will say to your coach, they'll go like, "Oh, well, nothing's broken," or "Oh, there's no term for what's wrong with you, so you're fine to train." And you're like, "I'm in agony." I'm in total agony. Please just tell me there's something wrong. But no, the only I'm sorry, but finally, the only serious one is I ruptured a ligament in my knee, and my legs are really what I need to do my job, and that took me off the bike for a month, and it was only 8 months before the Rio Olympics, and that was quite an intensive rehab process. But I was so supported for that. That it was actually, in a sense, probably one of the best points in my career, because I did have so much drive, because I wanted to make it to these games that were just so almost taken away from me, and I was so well supported that it's been the biggest injury that I've had, but probably not the biggest challenge.
Here is a question from Amy Ferguson, who's in Denny. And Amy is saying, how did you manage to balance your sport alongside your studies? This is a really pertinent question, I think, for all of these young people who are probably doing Nat 5s and then on to hires, maybe advanced hires, maybe uni, but also trying to keep going with their sport. So how do you balance sport with studies?
So I think I did pretty well until I was in my final year. So I did 6th year at school. And after my hires, I applied to university, and I had an offer before I sat my final exams in 6th year. that definitely made things slide. I didn't do very well in my very final exams. I think because I already had this university place, and so I leaned far more into the sporting side, or just to be honest, just the having a good time side, which is something I regret, because it did make it harder to pick things back up again. So I wouldn't recommend that anyone repeat that and think that, well, you can just chuck this year away. It was a stupid idea. But when I was through standard grades and hires, and I guess before that, because my main passion, I suppose, was playing hockey and swimming, I think actually helped with my school studies, because I was quite linked into my school environment, because it was a school team that I played for. I played for a club as well, but it was a school team that I played for. And so I was kind of surrounded by people that were doing the same things. We all had the same goals. We all had to sit these exams. If there's somebody that says to you they're not studying, they're either lying or stupid, Yeah. So being sort of surrounded by like-minded peers definitely made a difference. And then the way that I actually think being competitive with my swimming helped was that that I had structure to my days, and that you had to follow this routine. When I quit swimming, I would find that I'd come home slightly aimless, or my main focus would be about going around to a friend's house, or like hanging out at the park or something. And not that these are bad things, but it was almost like too much time, really, too much rope. So I think the two go hand in hand. And obviously, if somebody is feeling stressed, like they've taken on too much, you probably do have to take a step back and think, what am I prioritizing here? Because your schoolwork's definitely important. But I think so often they just make each other better.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those things, time management and all those great skills that you learn from your sport, which definitely help you out in life as well. Right, I think we've got time for just a couple of more questions. I know we've got so many questions in, which is absolutely fantastic. I know somebody asked you about the Olympic Games. Here we go. Katie Kilpatrick, Katie and Terry are asking, do you think you will be at the next Olympic Games?
I would love to be. So I competed in the team pursuit at the Rio Olympics, and I competed in the team pursuit and the Madison at the Tokyo Olympics. And so my dream is to go to the Paris Olympics and compete in the team pursuit, the Madison, and the Omnium. Those are the three endurance track cycling events that I could possibly target. It would be the biggest challenge I've ever faced. But I finally think I'm mature enough, emotionally robust enough, and physically strong enough to contend for that. A, to get selected for that, and then B, to be competitive. So that's my dream.
Can I ask, and this is really rude, Katie, but how old are you now? Just so that all the young people can get an idea that how much of a longevity it is possible to have in sport up at the highest level.
I'm 27, so I will be, so I'll be, so I'll be 30 at the Paris Olympics. I know you didn't tee that up deliberately to terrify me, but it's done that.
No, it's got a very nice ring to it. And so do you think that Paris will possibly be your last, or would it be possible to keep going on after that?
No, I would hope to keep going on. The next 3 years really have the potential to be the biggest of my career ever, because we had, because of the delay, we had the Tokyo Olympics in 21. Next year will be a Commonwealth Games, which will be the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, where I hopefully get to represent Team Scotland. In 2023, we're actually having our World Championships in Glasgow, and it's not just me as a track cyclist, it's 13 different cycling disciplines. So the track cycling, both able-bodied and paracycling World Championships will be there, road, mountain bike, BMX, trials riding, cycle ball, which is where you play football with a bike, artistic cycling, this thing called a Grand Fondo. There's everything you can imagine, almost everything. There's a couple of disciplines that won't be there, but it's a huge event in 2023. And then, like I say, hopefully 24. So yeah, I've got these major targets to springboard through these next 3 summers.
You know, these Cycling World Championships in Glasgow are going to be absolutely amazing. Right, I think we've got time for one more, and this is from Graham Young. And you've already mentioned lots of other sports that you've been involved in, Katie, so I think that this is a really good question, actually. Graham Young is asking, who is your sporting role model?
That is a good question. Well, it's a bit of a cheat, because my role models when I was younger, compared to my role models now, of course, I've had the opportunity to meet your Chris Hoys and to meet your Sarah Storys, Joanna Rousells, Laura Kennys, and I've been teammates with these people, and I've really seen up close what it is that makes them special, or for some people to realize that maybe they're not that special after all, you know, or like they're just normal people. But the biggest role model for me has been Sarah Storey. I obviously watched on the TV like anyone else, but getting to know her as a British teammate from about 2013 was the first time I met Sarah Storey. Who, if anyone hasn't heard of Sarah Storey, she's Britain's most successful Paralympian. Just recently, after her 17th gold medal at the Tokyo Paralympics. But she really taught me so much about ownership and, I guess, autonomy of your own career. Because when I was young, as much as I do think it's important, like I said, to join clubs and listen to people and to try and mine as much information as you can from the world around you, ultimately it's your career, and it has to be dependent on your decision making, your drive, and at some point you have to own what's happening to you and say, I'm doing this myself, like to myself, you know. My career isn't being done to me. I am creating the opportunities that I have. And yeah, I really learned that from Sarah, and I think that's probably reflected in the length of her career. She went to her first Paralympics when she was 14, I believe, as a swimmer, and she's now, I shouldn't say if I don't know exactly, I think she's now like 41 maybe, and she has a family, and she's still competing at the highest level, because she understands what works for her, and she understands how to find the balance, and she understands who she needs around her, and she's just such an important role model for me.
Well, that's just been absolutely fantastic, Katie. We've absolutely loved hearing from you, and we could talk all day, but sadly we've run out of time now. Thank you so much for joining us. What an incredible inspiration that you are. We've all certainly loved hearing about your journey, and we all wish you all the best of success for the years ahead. Thank you very much, Katie Archibald.
Thank you.
So, to draw the session to a close, I would like to show you a short film from Gemma McLean, who is a former Young Ambassador, and she is honest and passionate about the leadership opportunity you have in front of you.
Would you describe yourself as a leader? If I asked the leaders in the room to stand up, would you jump to your feet? I'm guessing not all of you would immediately say yes. That's me. I'm a leader. I'd like to change your mind in the next couple of minutes. Being a leader isn't about having a title or being a certain age. Leaders make a difference every day. Can you think of a time where you've said or done something that's made someone's life better? These are the everyday moments that can make life better in your school. You may not have even realised that what you're doing makes you a leader. Let me tell you my story, from nearly being thrown out of school to aspiring PE teacher. During school, I was very disengaged with my education and was on the brink of being permanently excluded from school. I didn't have any real dreams or aspirations. I didn't know where I was going to go going forward in terms of a career or college or university, and no doubt things could have turned out very differently for me. A new PE teacher arrived at the school and made a real difference in me. Hayley Barr noticed that I had leadership qualities, but I wasn't utilising them in a positive way amongst my peers. to help me develop key leadership skills that I've needed throughout my life, such as communication, confidence, respect, honesty, and as well really showed me the impact that sport, physical activity and leadership can have on you. She asked me if I wanted the opportunity to go to a conference and hear some athletes speak and learn a little bit more about leadership. I didn't know much about it until I went to the conference and heard a really inspirational talk from Paralympian David Smith, who really showed me the impact that I could have in my community. Being a young ambassador made me make the decision that I wanted to have that same impact on young people. So I'm now pursuing a career in PE teaching, studying at the University of Stirling, so that I can have the same impact that my PE teacher had on me. The combination of sport and education completely changed my life and helped me choose a different path in life, all because a PE teacher believed in me and gave me that chance. Now, let me ask you again, do you now think you are a leader? You should all be nodding and agreeing. Each of you is a leader. You can do and say something every day to make someone's life better. That's what I call leadership. Embrace your role as a young ambassador. Go out, make a difference, and enjoy every moment.
Well, that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much to all of you who in the comments section have thanked Katie for her interview. We'll make sure that we pass on all of your thanks and your absolutely fantastic comments there. I hope that you found it useful and also motivating, and I hope that hearing from our guest today has inspired you to make a real difference in your schools. I hope that you're feeling excited about the road ahead. Thank you all so much for attending, and I can't wait to see what you get up to in your schools and to make sport even better. Remember, please, to share your stories using hashtag YA Scotland so that we can see them. Remember, you can make a difference in your school. Believe in yourself, believe in your ideas, and become that leader that you are. Thank you so much, and bye for now.